Since this action was taken, what has been the situation of drug and substance abuse in the country? Join me on this episode as we look into the world of drugs and substance abuse in our society. My name is Nneka Michael. It's no longer news that some youths engage in drugs and substances abuse for numerous purposes, which in turn have their consequences in their lives. Let's take a look at this feature on the reality of drug abuse among the youths.
Nigeria's growing youth population indicates that there is an abundance of human capital needed for development in every sphere of the nation. On the other hand, this thriving youth population has also been a burden in progress due to their involvement in other illicit activities. In 2018, the federal government of Nigeria banned the use of cough syrups containing painkiller codeine because of the misuse and addiction by the youths. With this ban, youths no longer have access to the drugs for pleasure purposes.
The essence of eradicating drug abuse is to be able to curtail, to remove and then reduce the level in which people are rushing and engaging in drugs, and at the same time to enable them leave crimes. Because through drug abuse there is increments in crime. You could hear people complaining, snatching my bag, some people being robbed, they get killed, gang-related problem.
Unfortunately, drug abuse has become a common phenomenon among the youths.
First of all, when they don't follow the right channel to have access to drugs, and when they mix up with people that have the habit of abusing the drugs itself, in that way they can learn, or they learn how to abuse it. If they don't follow the right process, probably following the doctor's prescription or nurse's prescription, or if they learn from all those touts or street boys that take other side of the drugs like hams and the rest of them and not and abuse it.
According to a World Report in 2019, about 35 million people worldwide suffer from drug use disorder, while 1 in 7 people receive treatment. The increase is due in part to the use of synthetic opioid and tramadol in West, Central and North Africa. Also, in 2017, an approximate of 125 tons of tramadol was seized globally, a figure far above the 9 tons and 10 kilograms seized in 2013 and 2010, respectively. Drugs and substance abuse has taken new methods, aggravating a much difficult problem in the society. In the past, drug and substance abuse was common with hoodlums who roam the streets, but today it is seen among adults and children alike. Intake and consumption of these products is done in clubs, hideouts and shops around us. This also means that our kids are now susceptible to the use of these substances if not properly monitored. The consequences of drugs and substance abuse are enormous.
Now you send a kid to buy you cigarettes, or to buy you, call a name, to buy you some crack, to buy you marijuana. Then he's looking at it, he's curious about it, and he's going to pick one and smoke. And sometimes they are being motivated. Come and test it. This has happened to me myself. All right, and at that time I was in Abuja secondary school. I was in boarding school. While my senior sent me to buy drugs, he's an adult. I'm not supposed to involve in all this. Then I bought the drugs, buy some cigarette, buy some marijuana, they call it ubo, to smoke. Now, crack some things, I don't know. I was thinking maybe it's a chalk. They will crack it, put it on something, light it, and then bring it to themselves. Then they have converted it into something. There's a pipe, Some people call it shisha. They are all drugs. convert it into sweet. They call it sweet, and something like that. I was sent to get this thing. So I was curious. So I first started with the cigarette. I was sent to buy. I bought one too. And they said, I never asked, you are too young. What are you doing with cigarettes? So even those one are contributing into the harm, effects of these drugs all around.
On the streets, you see mad people. Those are the part of it. Parents losing their children during occultism in the school is part of it. Some people are even just going on the street, they are not themselves again. So many people have died.
If you check the society we are in now, you find out that the consequences of drug abuse is enormous, especially our youths. Okay? The street urchins you're seeing now, most of them are as a result of drug abuse. Even these bandits, even these rapists, some of them, they go and take these drugs in excess, and you have to take them to the other side of the world. You understand what I mean? I mean, that way they misbehave. They act inappropriately in the society. So the consequences are very normal. So most of the crime, let's say 30 or 40% of the crime we are having now is as a result of drug abuse.
They will engage in kidnapping, cattle rustlers, the sort of crime you mentioned. So these are what drug can do to a person, especially the woman. Nobody can keep a woman as a wife in the house that's into drugs. If my wife was into drugs and I see her, she's cracking something and she's misbehaving something, I can take her as my wife.
While some of the drugs abused are codeine, tramadol, methadone, oxycodone, among others, achieving common complete eradication of these menace will mean a lot.
I think we'll first of all start from the home. The parents should know what their children are doing at a particular time. Like your child bring in drugs that you don't understand, you have to go and find out. Charity begins at home. It starts with mothers. Mothers are always at home. They should look after their children and find out the type of friend they keep. They should find out what they do in the school. I know of so many people, they will just drop their children in the school. They don't go there to go and find out. For, even the one in university, parents have to go to the school and find out their friend, who is their friend, what are they doing, what did they bring to the house. So I will first of all say the parent. Then in the country again, churches to have roles to play. Let the churches on the altar, not everything about money, mosque, let them talk to the youth, because this thing circle around youth. So they should preach to them, let them talk to them. They should have group in the church, in the mosque, where they encourage the youth, tell them what they're supposed to do at a particular time.
Governments, if they map out measures to say this is how drugs are going to be taken, and they follow it up, do you understand? In that way, people will not abuse it. If you are telling me that I need this drug, I need to go to this center to take it, and you make sure it's available in that center, and not a situation whereby I will go there, I will not find the drug, therefore I have to go and look for it elsewhere. Do you understand? In that way, they are not helping. But if you tell me to go there, I will get it, and I go there, I get it, you are helping. Also, bring people that will sensitize us on how to use those drugs, the effects, the advantages and disadvantages of those drugs.
The youths need to be engaged. It mustn't be a white-collar job. There should be a center of study in technical know-how. Now, secondly, there should be checkmate internally, because people are now planting these drugs within our soil. So there should be a checkmate activities of farmers and of people that own a private land.
This also means that the government will move beyond legislating on banning items to more strategic approach if we must stop drug abuse.
The consequences of drug misuse cannot be overemphasized because the evidence are before us. Something has to be done to curb this menace. The general belief is that the youths are the ones engaging in drugs abuse and substance. But how true is this assertion? In our next feature, we look at drugs and substance abuse among different personalities.
Substance abuse is a global challenge that is affected by multiple psychosocial factors, and a personality trait has been a major role for its occurrence. Drug dependence involves physical, mental, and spiritual damage. According to the World Health Organization, about 270 million persons aged 15 to 65 have drug use disorder. A large number of these people have been engaged in the use of psychoactive drugs without medical supervision, thereby resulting to significant health risk. Youths are mostly the group associated with drug abuse, but it has been noted that adults also involved in drug and substance abuse, which is also on the increase. Research has shown that youths who live in the slums are known for taking cannabis and codeine because of its availability and affordability. Then youths and adults who are financially stable tend to do more of heroin, cocaine, and crystal meth, just to mention a few. Consumption of these illicit drugs and substances can affect the behavioral pattern of those who are already addicted to it. To curb it, it is advised all hands be on deck to put an end to the menace of drug abuse. Say yes to life and no to drug abuse.
It's surprising to know that drugs abuse does not solely lie with the youths. Adults also engage in this unwholesome act. Some of these drugs are purchased without stress from wherever, and this access to drugs must be checked. Pharmacist Oji Freda tells us how it can be done.
Eradicating drug and substance abuse is a challenge as well as a task that must be achieved. Although government agencies saddled with the responsibilities of controlling and enforcing laws against misuse of drugs and substances have been forthright in their activities, however, more needs to be done so as to have a robust approach in the fight. The role of the pharmacist is inevitable in containing the spread of drug misuse and abuse.
Not make use of the community pharmacy as much as they should. Community pharmacy and community pharmacists, they are here to educate you on your drug. So if you walk into a community pharmacy, you have maybe a drug on your hand you want to know something about or you're not comfortable with, it's always important that you walk in and ask for the community pharmacist. The community pharmacist will be more than enthusiastic to tell you about your drug. We're not just here to tell you how to take your drug. We're not just here to tell you take it 2-3 times daily. We can tell you how the drug works in your body, how long it will last in your body, and also we can also tell you what to expect, like the side effects of a particular drug. Sometimes some people, they are not usually very comfortable with drug addiction. They know they're addicted to this drug and they're not comfortable about it, but they don't know who to talk to. So when you go to a community pharmacy, even if you're buying something else, you can ask for the pharmacist, bring up that issue and say, see, I can't sleep unless I take this drug. I can't do this unless I take this drug. So that is what you should do. The community pharmacy, we're always here to talk to our patients. The drugs that are being sold over the counter are not these drugs, like opioids are not sold over the counter, like cannabis, marijuana, they are not sold over the counter. Pentazocine are not sold over the counter. They are prescription drugs only sold by the pharmacist. So that is what differentiates us from the patent medical shops, the patent medical practitioners. When you come into a community pharmacy, nobody will sell drugs that tend to be abused over the counter.
In this moment of COVID-19, the prevalence of less activities among the citizens is affecting people's disposition to drugs.
COVID-19 has caused a lockdown, and isolation is a fuel that ignites drug abuse. When you're being isolated, it gets to your head. So this has caused potential drug users to abuse drugs the more, and those that were not abusing drugs have started abusing drugs. So that is so since this COVID-19 emergence, a lot of, in fact, the statistics for drug abuse has spiked. As of June 2020, according to the UN, over 35 million people are addicted to one substance or the other globally. So drug abuse on its own is an epidemic, and it's a challenge in the health sector worldwide.
Drugs are not substances that should be taken for pleasure or self-prescribed by non-medical individuals. Rather, they must follow doctor's prescription and be obtained from a certified pharmacist.
Pharmacist further says, purchase your drugs from the community pharmacy as the only sure way to eradicate drug abuse. We go for a break, and when we come back, What Matters continues.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world.
Tremendous successes have been made by the government in tackling drug and substance abuse in Nigeria. What is the situation of drugs misuse in the country?
Well, codeine syrup is just one of the psychotropic substances which have been widely abused in the country. So it's not just the only drugs which we try to control or try to enforce. We have so many others, and the ban on codeine is effective because you can see that it is hardly seen anywhere and it's not being used widely as it used to be, and it's no longer being abused. Of course, you cannot rule out clandestine use of it or illicit use of it, which is still something we're working to omit. What I'm saying is there are so many other drugs of abuse, and there are so many illicit drugs, which, of course, cannabis is one of the most abused in the country, and we have others like methamphetamine, and we have cocaine and others, which we are fighting as well. But, of course, codeine has reduced considerably, if you want me to zero down to codeine. Well, I can say it is very high. It is very high in learning because it is something, for instance, cannabis sativa is something that is native to the area and is being produced everywhere in the country. And it is difficult for the law enforcement agency to police everywhere in the country. So we know we are doing our best. We are fighting the cultivation, we are fighting the trafficking and the transportation of these drugs to some areas of the country. But at the same time, the cultivation is something that is difficult to police, given that every soil, every part of this country, cannabis grows very well. And you know, when it is something that is prohibited or is unlawful, you discover that people try to do it clandestinely, and then the cultivation of it is done in such a way that we just have to gather information to know where they are and try to destroy them. Well, very well. That is true. Apart from cocaine, apart from cannabis, cocaine, and known drugs, there are so many other concoctions which could be turned into psychoactive substance for use by the youth. And most of these concoctions are done in the room, in their rooms, not even anywhere outside. And they use certain innocuous substances, things that you buy ordinarily from the shelf, and then concoct this and it becomes psychoactive substance. So it is something that the agency is looking into. We're also experimenting and trying to certain herbs, which we have seen around here, that could also give rise to this drug abuse. So it's not something that we can pinpoint clearly that this is the agent or the which should be used by the youth, because so many things have been concocted into drugs now. Yeah, I think we notice that effect. We notice the impact of lockdown because, when people are confined to a place and they're idle, they look for some other things to do. And some of them, maybe out of depression, have resorted to use of drugs. So we notice a very huge impact of drug abuse during the lockdown period. And of course, our message has always been that drug is an agent that if you have it, will heighten the problem of COVID-19. And from all our centers, all our rehabilitation centers, there was an increase in demand for rehabilitation and counseling from people outside. And then, of course, it showed the increase was so high during the lockdown period. But of course, we have our own challenges, taking in all those people who were calling and taking in all the clients who needed their services at that point in time. Well, we have seen that apart from the youth, we have the working class, well, which of course constitute the youth as well, and then of course the women. In fact, increasingly we have seen the abuse of drugs by women, and this is very huge in the northern part of the country. And we are developing approaches as well to see how we can work collaboratively with our partners to stop this trend. We have also seen the use of drugs by those who work in industries such as drivers of articulated vehicles and buses. We have seen the increase in the use of drugs in those categories of people. We have also seen increasing use of drugs amongst those who are into manual workers and those who are also into transportation businesses like Okada riders, tricycle riders, and some, I've mentioned, big lorries, big trucks, articulated vehicles as well.
Unfortunately, the end of drugs misuse is mental disorder, which seems to be on the increase. How best can victims of drug abuse be treated? Thank you for joining us, Mr. Osas. Please tell us, how can drug abuse disorder in Nigeria be treated?
Yeah, treatment is a function of what the individual presents. First and foremost, there is a need for professional evaluation and assessment before we begin to talk about the treatment plan. For individuals who present with one mental illness or the other, it is important that a mental state evaluation is done by a professional at any given time to ensure the stability and the extent of damage the substance has done to the individual. Basically, there are two dimensions to managing this individual. The first dimension is the medical component in managing the individual. The second dimension, which is also medical, however, it is called psychotherapeutic, psychosocial support or plan for managing this individual. These services are available within our mental health facility.
What is the prevalence of drug abuse in Nigeria?
All right. It is more prevalent among the youth. This is simply because of their experimental age. The youth between the age of 15 and 32 at any given instances make effort or significant effort to experiment with one substance or the other. So in Nigeria, the prevalence is more common among the youth. Going by the statistics and survey that I've reviewed in the most recent time.
Mr. Osas, can you tell us the motivating factor for drug abuse?
People are led into substance use, one, for the youth, one, peer pressure, and two, societal challenges. And sometimes it could be a case of personality. In terms of youth who are led into substance use by way of peer pressure, it simply means that at any given time, this youth finds himself among his peers. A peer who uses substance could pressurize another peer who does not use substance.
What are the signs to watch out for someone who is abusing drugs?
Okay, first and foremost, we will look at the behavioral signs and symptoms of anyone who has gone into substance. The behavior of that individual evidently change in the sense that for anyone who has gone into substance use, you will discover that if the individual has not been that very stable for a very long time, you discover that the individual becomes so unstable in the sense that his cognitive function is affected. He doesn't think straight anymore. You could also see him with poor hygiene. Dressing is not also appropriate, which is also in relation to his age. Then again, financially, you see this individual presenting with lack of money or lack of finance, because some of them may have gone into an expensive substance abuse that takes almost all their income. So you will discover that this person will always go broke and always come around you asking for money for insignificant or petty things as the case may be.
Drug and substance abuse is a menace that must be tackled by everyone and shouldn't be left with the government. What Matters comes your way again next week on NTA International. And remember, always keep to COVID-19 guidelines and remain safe.
This is NTA International.
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, information management is key.
I'm Cyril Stober.
Fatima Umar Buba.
Joseph Johnson.
Ian Ray John.
Muhammad Kudu Abubakar.
Jumba Yusuf.
My name is Kirian Umaya.
Here in NTA, we're working very hard to make sure that everything we broadcast is accurate and up to date. Misinformation spreads very fast.
The social media has been a huge conveyor of misleading information from one individual to another, then to another set of groups. In a short while, it goes viral, and before you know it,